Welcome to the Wisdom of Women show. We are dedicated to amplifying the voice of women in business. A new model of leadership is emerging, and we are here to amplify the voices of women leading the way. I am your host, Coco Salmon, five-time founder, impact investor, and creator of the Force for Good system. Thank you for joining us today as we illuminate the path to unlocking opportunities and prosperity for women-led enterprises by amplifying the voice and wisdom of women. Today, I'm so excited to be with one of my fellow entrepreneuristas, and I'm excited to learn all about the world of social and podcasting. So today I have Kristina Bartold-Sorgota. She's the dynamic CEO and co-founder of The Social Snippet, a thriving social media and podcasting agency that has empowered over 100 businesses to build impactful online communities. With advanced degrees in peace and conflict studies and leadership, Kristina combines her expertise in communication and strategic growth to help visionary entrepreneurs turn big ideas into lasting impact. Her journey from certified personal development coach to running a full-service agency showcases her commitment to transformation and innovation. Known for her personalized approach and tough but supportive coaching style, Kristina inspires business owners to scale with intention and authenticity. When she's not guiding businesses to new heights, you'll find her reading personal development books, yes, enjoying a hazelnut latte, or connecting deeply with her community. So excited to have you here, Kristina.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with my hazelnut latte. I'm like, that is a bio. I love that.
That's so fun, right?
So fun.
So, what is a book
Mm.
written by a woman that has significantly influenced your life?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this question, Coco, honestly, I had to go on my Audible and I was like, there are so many men who are writing books. So many men, which is fine, but also we need more women writing some books. But I was gonna say the book that really influenced me was Rachel Rogers' "We Should All Be Millionaires," and I think why that really influenced me was because it really democratized this idea of money. If you don't grow up around a lot of money, or you don't, I'm the first entrepreneur in my family. I'm a first generation Canadian. Just like thinking about things in a different way, it's always like not me. It couldn't be me, kind of thing. And I think reading that book was such a great indicator of the fact that it could be definitely be. And that, we need more money in the hands of women. If women have dreams on their hearts, they definitely need to bring them to life.
I love it. I didn't catch the name of the book. It's a Rachel Rogers book. What is it? I don't know this book.
Yeah, it's called We Should All Be Millionaires.
Oh,
I would recommend
okay.
listening to it. She's awesome.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to totally pick up this book. This one sounds really right up my alley. That is true. And I am with you. The reason I asked this question is because women are writing books. The data shows that women are writing just as many, if not more, books than men. And I'm speaking about the business sector and leadership
Yeah.
sector right now. You can find plenty of romance novels written by women that are making it to the tops of the charts, right?
Yeah.
The problem is they're not making it. Only 10% of all Wall Street Journal and New York Times categories of business and leadership are making it to the top. And it's not because they're not good, right? It's
Yeah.
because the same reasons women don't get funded through venture,
Yeah.
same reasons that women aren't getting to the top of the Fortune 500 leading companies. So, We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers. Yes, we're in.
Amazing.
So, Kristina, your journey began in personal development, which
Yeah.
I totally love because I'm a personal development junkie myself. And you've evolved into co-founding the Social Snippet. So can you share how your background and experiences shaped the vision for this really cool agency?
Yeah. It's always one of those things. I feel like when I tell the story, it feels so random, but also like divine in ways. I studied conflict resolution in university, always was interested in leadership and teams and people. I graduated university, worked at university, but always felt this calling for something different. Like I was always like, I don't know if the 9 to 5s for me. I really excelled at all the jobs I had, but just always felt like there was something else. And right when I got married, it was 2020, weird timing to get married. I got married like 3 weeks before the world shut down. I always
Oh,
say,
gosh.
When I write my memoir, it's gonna be like, who is the stranger living in my house? Because we got married, we started living together. And I was like, who is this? But lots to unpack there. But yeah, so I started to start coaching. I had a coaching certification. I'm a trained mediator. At the time, I was doing my master's in leadership. So I started to do some coaching on the side. It started with the Myers-Briggs tool. I facilitate the Myers-Briggs, not as much anymore, but I used to do it really often. And so I started doing it for people, and especially in a time where people had a lot of time. We were at home, not doing much. So why not start to think about your future or personal development? You're with your family and, maybe more conflicts arising than normal. Like, why is that? Why are we so different? I was doing a lot of coaching. Something else to know about me is I've always been very tech savvy and very social media aware. Every job I've ever had, I'm always the person running all the socials and doing all the creative and like whatever. But I had this limiting belief. I have two master's degrees. Why would I become a social media manager? Like, I'm like, I like, this is, I had just had this like feeling. I was like, this just doesn't resonate. And so during my training, my clients became repeat clients. People were doing lots of referrals. It was growing. And my now business partner, Maria, was working with me, doing a lot of my creative and helping me sell online. We realized that a lot of the people we were selling to wanted social media help. Like it was like they'd be like, "Do you think you could do this, like these posts for me?" We'd be like, "No, that's not what we're selling. Like it's so random. You wouldn't go to a dentist and ask them for a slushie, right?" It just felt so out of character. And then one day I went to Maria and I was like, what if we did it? Like these people are asking, we know how to do it. I think we could be helpful. And Maria was like, no, I don't want to do it because I actually don't think social media is a way for us to make impact. And we're both so impact driven. And
Mhm.
I was kind of like, okay. And I sat with it. I couldn't let it go. And then in 2021, I went back to her. We had a friend who had given up her agency and she wanted to get rid of her clients. And I was like, this is kind of like the perfect test ground. Do this with me. And it's been kind of bananas ever since. But really, I think why it's been so successful, and now we have 85 clients. We do podcasting as well. It's grown quite a bit. I think what's made it so successful is that our roots are really homegrown. We were business owners, right? We get what people need. But then on the other side, it's that a lot of the skills that I learned in like leadership and conflict resolution and about people, that's helped me learn how to manage as many clients and learn how to manage as many personalities. And we have a big team, and all of these things have really all worked together. I always say nothing wasted. Like all of these things work together for good. So, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Oh, I love it. And that's how I think so many of us find our way. You evolve and grow, and your experiences somehow together make sense,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't have predicted it. And I love that you're so focused on impact. That really is so cool. I know you're helping lots of entrepreneurs grow their business, scale their businesses, which is super, super wonderful. So, community. Let's talk about community and how you help build community, why you feel it's so important to you. And can you tell us about a moment where connecting with others or building relationships significantly impacted your business growth?
Oh, yeah. So many moments. Community's always been like when I think about the pillars of my life, that's always been one of them. Working at a university, what I did was a lot of student programming. I managed residents. I really loved to nurture community. That was always my thing. When we started selling like in our coaching, the people who were buying from us were our community. It wasn't like I was running ads, it wasn't like I was pitching people in the DMs, which is fine, but it was really like the people who had already built know, like, and trust with us. And so that's why it's been so important to us when I talked about businesses or talk to businesses, is that like community has to be a foundation of what you're doing, because you literally never know where your next sale is going to come from. You never know who's watching you. You never know like where something's going to come from. Like even I was thinking yesterday, somebody reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, you've actually been on my vision board for like a
Oh,
few years to work with. Isn't that awesome?" And she's like, "I'm finally making the revenue my business I want to make, and now it's podcast time, and let's make it happen." Right? So cool. So blessed by that. But like, I had no idea who she was. I saw her engage with some of my stuff, but didn't have a relationship. You have no idea who's in your community. So when I think about impactful community moments that have been big in business, the first one I think about is when we first got started with the social snippet. We joined this mastermind. A mentor of mine, he's still a mentor. They ran this online mastermind, and it was like kind of height of COVID. Like people were very indoors, and I'm Canadian, so like very indoors. And so we're online and this mastermind, and I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, there's 200 business owners in this. Like, we're learning from this coach. This coach is amazing. But I was like, but like, how do we maximize like the relationships with this? Like, how am I going to
yes.
make a connection? So I put this thing up in the chat being like, hey, I'd love to give you guys free social media audits. Like, let me know if you want a free social media audit. And with the intention of just getting to know people. Like, it wasn't even one of them I did. The woman at the end was like, where's the pitch? And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to pitch you because you didn't ask me for a pitch. It's actually very hard to get me to sell something. It takes
Wow.
work. And so, which is
I
probably,
like to give, right?
yeah,
You like to give.
yeah. Which is a woman thing, I think, too, right? Is that like as women, we're like, that's the way we're like conditioned, right? In business and in life. And so I think for better or for worse. And so I think it was just, we started doing these calls with people. And even if it wasn't that person who was going to hire us, they had a whole network of people that when someone's like, I'm looking for someone to manage my social, they're like, oh, great, meet the social snippet girls. It actually blew up our business in a very short amount of time because we were just trying to chat with people. And the best part of that, if I was to give any advice on building community, is that like social and all of this, it's meant to be social. You're meant to have conversations, talking to these people, listening to what they're saying. That is the best marketing information you could get. Is like, what are people saying and how can you use that information? But it's also amazing relationships. Follow up with the people you say you're going to follow up with. Like, offer referrals, offer introductions to people. It's amazing how much can really happen when you lean into that.
That's so great. And I feel like it's leveraging your strength, right? Where you're willing to do a social media audit and have a conversation with a group of people that you've all like are connected to. So a
Yeah.
mastermind or wherever the community might be. That then turns into a greater conversation. Now how do you keep up? How do you keep up with all those relationships? What are some of your tactics
Yeah.
and strategies for making sure you really do re-engage?
Yeah, so that is a gift of mine. So I also just want to name that and that's something I've always been told my whole life. I can keep up a lot of relationships, I have a lot of connections, I have an excellent memory. So it's like I'll see someone, I can remember almost anything they've ever told me. Like it's literally been my gift. But I will say in a season where I've been at this for almost 4 years, where I'm going to events with 200 people, I'm speaking at events, you meet people like there, like there's lots. I practice extreme radical humility, trying to get to know people, trying to pour into people. If someone comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, we met here and I don't remember," I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for reminding me." Like I'm not trying to be something that I'm not, I think is really important. But I would say there's lots of things you can do. Like even like that's a great opportunity to use something like LinkedIn or Instagram, right? Like connect with people, see what they're up to, and foster those relationships by supporting their businesses. So at the end of every connection call I do, I ask them, what's the best way I can add value to you right now? And people will be like, oh my gosh, I have this book coming out, and would you be willing to send an email to your email list? And I might not be willing to send an email to my email list, but let me include it in my weekly email. Or why don't I do a story for it? Like having those boundaries is still fine. You don't have to do everything everyone asks you. But the other thing I'm going to say too, Coco, and this is like maybe a controversial thought, but I think as women, I'm just going to say it,
Yeah,
is that like also not all relationships are necessary. And
of
and
course.
and I think that's something that I really struggled with at the beginning. I would
Yeah.
build and make relationships with people. You'd meet so many amazing people and you'd be like, "Oh, that actually isn't what I thought that was," or that person doesn't pour into me the way that I pour into them, or whatever that
Right.
looks like. And I think
Right.
as women we're so primed to be like that people pleasing energy around like, oh, I need to keep this relationship up. I need to like, I always used to say for years, I used to go out for coffees with people and I'd be like, man, I can't. I don't even like this person. And I'm doing it because they asked. And the person I'm ultimately betraying is myself. So
Yes.
I think those boundaries are important too. There's gonna be people you instantly click with, who you have great relationships and great energy with, and there's really a lot of potential. And then there's gonna be people that there's not a lot of potential with, and also being okay to be like, I love what you're doing. I really respect what you're doing. I have nothing bad to say, but I don't need to do a connection call every 3 months. And that is something even in this season I'm struggling with, where people will reach out and they'll be like, "We met a year ago. Can we do a connection call?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like because it's really quite a busy season, but I don't want to be rude. So it's always finding that balance.
Right, right. This is something that I think about a lot because I'm extremely introverted. I love people, but it takes I mean, I am genuinely an introvert in the sense that I need to recharge alone.
Yeah.
I love to be with people and I have a lot of energy to give to people individually, but I
Mhm.
can't be on the phone all day and I can't be
Yes.
bopping from coffee to coffee. It makes me crazy. So I've been trying to find ways to automate and put boxes around how I create that connection, but still participate in community, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to show up at this co-working space one afternoon every other week, and that's the time you can come and see me, right? Or what have you, so that it's not
Yes.
like I'm bopping all over the place. If you come, that's great. And then if you're special, you're somebody, I shouldn't say everybody's special. But
Yeah.
if I have somebody I really want to cultivate, then I can go outside the lines.
Well, I was actually going to say there was this thing that a friend of mine used to do, and I used to be like, this is so rude. And now I'm like, this is genius. And like, I just can't even believe that I was ever judgmental about it, which also I just want to say is my stuff. I think I've received feedback where people are like, Christina's hard to get a hold of. And I'm like, that's their thing. You know what I mean? Like I can't be responding to people 24/7. But the thing is this person I know, she was like, it's similar to your co-working space kind of thing. She runs events or she'll hold space and she'll be like, if you want to hang out, come to this event and that's where I'll be. And I was like, oh my God, that's so freaking rude. How could you do that to someone? And now I'm like, you little genius. That is so smart because you get that opportunity. I think, Coco, you and I are both these types of people. And this other person I'm talking about too. I love to make people feel seen. I love when I see people in person, even if there's 80 people there, tell me what's up, what's going on for you. Like, like I'm that's not me being like, come and be my fan. It's like, no,
Right.
it's like I want to see you, but I also am in a limited capacity season. I just want to encourage people if you've gotten that from somebody, that doesn't mean you're not a good person or a good fit.
Totally,
I think
totally.
it's just recognizing that if you keep showing up and supporting that person in that season too, that will also strengthen the relationship and will also get, maybe what you're looking for. And so, yeah, I went on a bit of a tangent here, Coco, but I think it's important.
I appreciate it. So you've helped a lot of companies, over 100 businesses scale through social media and podcasting.
Yeah.
So tell us your secrets. What are your strategies? What do you recommend?
Yeah.
Like, that's a big open question, but I'm going to let you sort of reveal your wisdom in whatever way you desire.
Yeah, Coco, you're an introvert. I am an extrovert, and I can take up all space all the time. So I like super extrovert. I'll say that why I think social media and podcasting are so important right now, and when it comes to scaling your business, is because it is like these ultimate connection tools. So I'll talk about social first, and then I'll talk about podcasting.
Yes.
Social media is one of those things where there is a lot of fear around it. People have a lot of like, oh my gosh, I would rather almost not post than post and not be good. I would rather I need to be on every platform or I won't do anything, and I think what's really important is that we're actually building relationships and community on social because social is meant to be social. And so I encourage people, the best way to see success, especially if you're doing it for yourself, is to choose one platform you love being on. Choosing one platform that you're like, I like showing up here. I find it fun and enjoyable to be here. For example, I use TikTok, bad timing, but I use TikTok as an example for this because I literally am like, I hate TikTok. Like I love to watch it for entertainment, but I don't like making TikToks. Used to feel this pressure because I'd be like, we own an agency and shouldn't we just do it so people can see we can grow one because we could? And then I was like, I hate this and I'm not going to respond to the comments and I'm not going to message people on there. So it's not worth it. But
Yeah.
on Instagram and LinkedIn, I love Instagram and LinkedIn and I love showing up there. I love seeing what people are doing. I love supporting my founder friends. And it's easy for me to go on there and DM a bunch of people, send a bunch of voice notes. I love it. So I think if
Yeah.
it feels easy for you and it's somewhere you can show up, it's just about trying and really showing up. It sounds like you feel the same way, Coco.
100%. 1,000%. My place is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's my place.
And
Yeah.
you kill it over there. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, right? Finding one or two spots where you are really like, you don't need to be Alex Hermosi. You don't need to be everywhere. Just being somewhere where you can have good contact with people and really support people. Even if you're not posting and you're just like, encouraging your peeps, commenting on stuff and jamming with people, that is still a great use of time. And
Yeah.
so I think for social, the first thing I'm going to say is just putting in the effort to be social and build rapport and relationship. And then I think podcasting, and you're probably onto this now, Coco, but like I think podcasting is like the greatest networking hack of all time. Like I'm like, honestly, if no one ever listens to my podcast again, I hope they will. But if no one ever listens to my podcast again, I would still probably continue to do it. It's so great to get people on and have conversations, right? Like you and I just connected for the first time. We've been in the same circle for a long time. You're like, I live in New York. I'm like, actually, like I know of an amazing group of women in New York you should connect with, right? Like this is such a good thing. And I've had so many opportunities where I've been podcasting with someone and they're like, hey, do you want to meet this person? Because I would love for them to be on your podcast. Or, hey, I would love to do this or whatever. So I would say from a guest to host perspective, there's something really magical there. And then the other thing about it that is so great for business is from a client acquisition perspective, people are so invested in you, right?
Yeah.
When they're choosing you to listen to for an hour while they're picking up their kids, while they're walking, while they're at the gym, while they're like taking that time for themselves, you're like getting in their brain, like you're with them. It feels like an
Yeah.
intimate conversation. For those of you listening, if you've ever come across a podcast that you've met for the first time, I know this from one of my mentors. I remember meeting him and I was like, I know everything about you. Like, I know everything about you. But because I know your dog's names and I know your wife and I know all the things you've tried and all the things that work. We ran a retreat a few weeks ago and a woman came to the podcast or to the retreat here in Ontario, Canada. She came from California and because she listens to my podcast. I was literally like, oh my goodness, are you sure? It's such a great intimate thing. When it comes to growing your brand and growing on social, I think the big thing is the way you can use it in relationship with others. That's one of the greatest ways to grow your business.
Picking people you really want to be with and talk to, right? And then like you sort of alluded to it, but like, at the end, making sure you have a next step. This
Yeah.
is where I haven't been great. I have the podcast and I definitely provide the information to share and all that later. But I don't know that I do a good job creating that next step of relationship. So
Mm.
so describe to me some of the best practices that you use or you would guide your clients in to making sure they get the most out of that relationship, that podcast.
So with podcasting, there's a few things. I'll talk about it from hosting a podcast and then I'll also talk about it from the like guesting on a podcast.
Yeah.
But from a host perspective, someone like you, like or myself, like really like what you want to be doing is you want the call to action at the end of your podcast to be about them connecting back with you. So it's like, even for us, share on social, DM us letting us know what you thought. Like that is kind of the way that we do it. Something I love to do, it is a little labor intensive, but I do it sometimes. If I have somebody like an author on, like someone who has a book, I will typically say the first three people to share this in their stories and tag the author, like, and me and the author, I will send them the author's book. It's a great way for me to support a friend and also a great way for someone to get something for free. But then also it's like that, like you're starting to see, do people listen to this? Like, are people like, and I'm amazed, like every time I do it, in the first 3 or 4 hours of my podcast being live, the three people message me being like, hey, I was just thinking about this, like, and actually it's funny. There's a bit of a fallacy around it where I think people don't message because they think they've missed it. You know what I mean? So it's like people are really in on that. I think always trying to get people to connect back with you, encouraging them to share. Sometimes I ask a question like, tell me what resonated with you about this. What do you think about that? I'm going to try this. What do you think? I did an episode about threads and I talked about how I've grown on threads and like, what's been helpful, how we got our first client on threads. And I was like, tell me like what you're posting on threads, like what you like about it. And I got so many DMs from people being like, oh, I'm doing this and I like that. And it was just interesting combo. And also, you have to think about it. Like when people are listening to your podcast, they are fans of yours. Like, I'm using
Right.
fans in the loose term. They're not like outside your home, but they're fans of yours. So, how much does it mean when they send you a note and then in relationship with them, you send them a voice note back? Like
Yeah, yeah,
saying,
yeah,
hey, thank you so
yeah.
much for listening. That means the absolute world to me. Like, and it continues that encouragement, right? So that's one. I think when you are a guest on a podcast, the most important thing you can do. So I love to, and I'll always do this at the end, but you'll see it in live action. I usually like to lead someone somewhere. So you want to have something that you lead them to. It could be something that's free. Like you could do a freebie, like, hey, like, I've got this great Instagram bio audit tool. Use this tool. Check it out and make the link very easy for people. Even if they
Yes.
don't go in the show notes, you don't want it to be like the social snippet, slash page, slash this. Like has to be quick and easy.
Simple.
Yes.
Right.
But I love to give people a code for whatever it is that I'm doing. So at the end of this, I'll give everybody a social business club code. And that not only is really helpful for new audience members, but the other thing that it's kind of helpful for is that it tells me like, are my efforts working?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are you going on the right podcast? Because people will guest on podcasts and they'll be like so excited to guest on podcasts. And I'm like, why did you go on that romance novel podcast? Social media. You know what I mean? Like, why did that matter to you? Or like, I had somebody, I have a friend who has a very successful podcast where they rate different foods. And he was
Uh-huh.
like, will you come on and rate ice creams with me? And I was like, will I do it? Yes. Do I think that this has anything to do with my business? No. And so that's not in my deck of podcasts I've been on. I would say really finding out what are the fruits of your labor and being able to refer people out that way.
That's great. And when you think about, we're on the tangenting a little bit.
No.
When you're helping your clients with their podcasting strategy, there's two sides, right? Here's my podcast, and then I'm also going out and finding guests, or
Yep.
I'm going to be a guest. What are some of the strategies that you guide your clients on finding places where you can go be a guest?
Mm. Yeah.
I'm asking questions. I want to know the
Oh,
answer.
I'll tell you anything. Coco, we're new friends. I'll give it all. Truly, my approach to anything is you can literally ask me anything. I'll tell you any information. The first thing I would say, if you're looking to be a guest on other people's podcasts, the best thing you can do is have your own podcast. So that is
Yes.
something. So check. That is something that I think people really underestimate the power of that reciprocity of like, I want to have you on, but also I have a home base for you as well. I
Yes.
was gonna say this earlier. I'm so sorry. It's a very small tangent. Is that having your own podcast gives you the opportunity to have access to people you normally would not be able to because they are looking for a platform. I have never been asked how many downloads I have when asking, and I've had celebrity entrepreneurs on my podcast, never been asked. So I'm not telling you that to like try to dupe people. I'm telling you that like people care if you have a platform. They care that you have an audience. They care that you have a community. So if that's the case, how do you leverage that? So that's one. The second piece of this, I would say, is that if you want to get on more podcasts and that's your goal, having your own podcast. Secondly, referrals in your network. So going to people having podcasts, I'm always shocked that people don't pitch me. I'm like shocked about it. Because random men are always pitching me, but
I
women
do.
and
Me
you,
too. I'm like, wisdom of women. You clearly don't even know who you're pitching.
oh my God.
A bot.
But yeah, I get a lot of pitches, but almost nobody from my network. Like nobody. Because people assume that if I wanted them, I would have asked. And
Oh,
so, but I don't ask. So I'm like, so even on Friday, I saw this woman. She said, "Hey, and I know her really well. She runs a beautiful business. Like, I would love to talk to her on my podcast." I just don't ask. I have such an influx of people. And so she was like, "Oh, I was wondering, and like I'll totally send you an email with my deck. And I'm wondering if it would be okay if I pitched you." I was like, "Yeah, you can just book it. I'm happy. Just
good. I'll send you a link.
yeah,
It's
just
good.
book it in." And I was like, "Just email my sister, we're good." And she was like, okay, but like I'm gonna add a lot of value. And I was like, "I know that. You don't need to pitch that to me, right?" So I think going to your direct network and saying, one of my goals this year is to be on more podcasts and talk about these things. This is where people go wrong. They do not have topics. So they don't come
Oh,
and they're not like, "I have something I want to talk about." They're like, "I just want to be on your podcast." So even today, I'm in a group that's very male dominated, and this man messaged me. He is literally a TikTok genius. So I'm like, I'll take him. But I asked him, "What do you want to talk about?" And he started to talk to me about podcasts he wanted to be on. We are having two different conversations. You need to be very clear on what you talk about and what value you add. And when
yeah.
you're pitching people, it's what value do you add to their audience?
Yeah.
So saying to them, and
Right.
I also encourage you to listen to their podcast. Tell
Yeah.
them what episodes you like. Tell them like, "Hey, I listened to this. This was so good. It actually made me think that I might be able to add value in this way. I don't think you have an episode about this." That's a no-brainer. You're signed up. That's great. So I think how can you show them that you're going to add value directly to them? Because podcast hosts, I think rightfully are protected of their audience. And I've had conversations with people where like I've been podcasting for 2.5 years where I don't air the podcast. Like afterwards, I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I don't think you actually added the value you told me you were going to add, and I couldn't get you there." And I'm like, very, very sorry. I don't want to waste your time, but you can have this content if you want it. I'm so protective of the content that I put out that I can't put out bad content. Because if someone
Right.
listens to one bad episode,
Not going to listen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say asking your direct network. The other thing I would say is there are a few tools you can use. Like there's a Facebook group called Find a Guest, Be a Guest. It's huge. There's maybe 1 million people in it. And you can post on there, you will get inundated with asks. But again, what kind of podcasts are they? Does your ideal client listen to that? Is that of high value? There's another thing called matchmaker.fm where you can make a profile and get matched with people. I've had some good guests come from that. The best thing you can do is if you go on someone's podcast, over deliver for them. Like not
Yes.
only be on
Yes.
the podcast, host it everywhere.
Yes.
Send an email to your email list and then follow up 2 weeks later saying, "Hey, I want to check in how the podcast did,
Mhm.
how I can add more value if you need it. And do you have anybody else who might want to chat about what I've talked about?" That person's gonna be like, "Of course I do. My friends are all gonna want you on the podcast because of how much you've promoted it." I had a friend who had never been on a podcast ever before, and I begged her. I was like, "Listen, you're gonna be so good." She was incredible. She comes on the podcast. This woman made her own graphics. She was talking about it in her stories. She sent out an email. Like it's one of the most high, she has probably one of the smaller audience sizes I've ever interviewed. And the most downloads because her audience was so engaged in seeing her be successful. After we got off, I was like, everyone needs to interview you. Not only was she an amazing interview, she also added so much value. So, how do you add so much value to these people so that you can sustain that relationship? Those are all my tips, I think.
Man, this is so helpful. I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm taking notes.
Amazing. Yay. Yay.
So I know that you have a done for you approach to scaling businesses. What are the most common pain points you solve for your clients, and how can women founders benefit from outsourcing strategically with you?
Yeah. So honestly, we've used the same phrase since day one, which is like we help business owners stay in their zone of genius. Because honestly, I think social media and podcasting, if you are not in- super tech inclined, it can be
Mhm.
a huge barrier for you to be successful. We've seen people every time I do a discover call, I'm posting 7 times a week, I'm editing my own podcast, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm like, when do you have time to make sales in your business? When do you have time to go network? It is the $1,000 you're going to spend on this. Like, could you make $1,000 elsewhere? Like, is there a way that you can make this happen? So really, like our approach is, firstly, we're partners. Like that's really it. We like are like your sidekick in social media or podcasting. So it's us driving the strategy. We're bringing the insights, the content ideas, everything. But it's really under your leadership, right? Like that's so important. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with outsourcing social, is they outsource social thinking that people are going to like, how do I explain this? Like take over everything and then they never have to log on again. And it's just gonna be a huge funnel for sales. Social is personal.
You have to have your pulse on it all the time. The responses are what you said about going in and responding to people. That's been my strongest networking over the last year, by engaging people,
Yeah,
right? And
100%.
you have to get your hands in there. You have to make comments. The AI tools for that are really bad. You have to be you for that.
Totally. It is so much better to just be yourself
Yeah.
for a few hours of the week than it
Yeah.
is for you to like try to AI it and go hard. Like on it, honestly, it's such a big impact. Social media is one of those things. You have to be social on it. We
Yeah.
support a lot of that. We really
Yep.
provide the strategy,
Mhm.
especially to get new eyes on your stuff. Our best clients are the people who are also in on it. They're in the messages. They're coming up with some of their own podcast ideas. They're excited about what's kind of going on in their business. So it's easy for them to talk about. So I think,
Right.
outsourcing social and podcasting, the whole purpose kind of for with us, why we love it so much is it's such a time saver and an
Yes.
energy saver. And I think when we like as women, especially as business owners, like it's it's so easy for us to want to do it ourselves, like everything. And I was
Everything. Yeah. Like if you're the one creating the actual posts, big waste of time, right? Now your voice needs to be in there. And you must do a lot to help emulate that voice and get that.
yes, and we learn a lot about their voices, their brand, and their story. We have clients who are like, "You are more me than me. You speak better than I do. Like this is great," which I
I
love.
love that.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
that. That's really, I've had marketers in the past who I've worked with who I feel that way about. And that is a big, big deal if you can do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think my team's awesome. It's really about that collaboration, right? If you ever outsource this, even if it's not with me, folks, you go and you outsource this for social, you do the podcasting stuff, and these people are like, "Don't worry, like you never have to log on again. Like you don't even want that. You don't even want that." And so I would say like really just helps you stick in your zone of genius and really helps you nail that in. And then the other thing is that like okay, similarly, I used to be my own bookkeeper. It went poorly. I owed a tax bill that I am not proud of. I was unaware. What I really notice is that we keep our eye on the target with social. We're always learning about it. When new
Yeah.
tools come out, we know what's happening. We think about it from strategy. We're looking at trends, thinking about all of these things, which is awesome. You don't need to do that. Like
Yeah.
that's something that I think is like business owners, they're like on reels 24/7 and they're like, watch. And I'm like, there's just so many other things you could be doing that are going to add value and move the needle in your business. Let the accountants do the bookkeeping or the bookkeepers do the bookkeeping. Let the social media manager do the social. I think it helps us stay in our lanes in the best way so we can grow our businesses.
Totally. Okay. So I'm again thinking about myself.
Please.
But how do you help the brand improve over
Yeah.
time? So what does that look like? Whether it's on social or in podcasting, how do you help? Because I feel like hopefully I'm getting better at
Yeah.
podcasting than I did on the first podcast, and hopefully I'm getting better at social. But like, sometimes we need outside support, the metrics, there's tons of data. It's like, how do I get to it all? Like,
Yeah.
how do you actually help a podcast or a social media brand? How do you help them get better at what they're doing?
Yeah. So we're always finessing messaging. We're always giving feedback. So if we see that, like, I always say this because it's a fitness thing and I've now borrowed it and taken it as my own, but this idea of like success leaves clues. Like,
Yes.
we look through analytics, we look through like what are people, what's starting conversations with people, right? Like, this is something that I think is so interesting that people do not take into account, right? We make these analytics reports for people. And this is why I'm like kind of like not anti-analytics, but I like sometimes I'm a little like,
Yep.
this is not everything. I'll give you a personal example. I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I on the podcast, but I'm pregnant, and so this has been like a new season for me. I've just started posting on Instagram about it because I was kind of quiet. And every time I ask a question in relation to pregnancy, people are coming out of the woodwork to answer it. Right? I didn't even know you followed me. I have no idea who you are. Like people, like it's so sweet. Does that not impact my business? Yes, right? These people are thinking about me. I'm kind of top of mind, like even if it's not social, like whatever. So it's always that balance of us trying to figure out, like I posted yesterday a picture of me with my pregnancy pillow for the first time, and I was like, "Is this how you put this on?" Like I don't know. I'm a first time mom. Is this how I lay here? And I like my story views are probably triple that they normally are. People are in my DMs being like, "No, that's not how you lay there," or it is, or whatever. But again, it's like just the conversations. What starts conversations with people? So is it personal stuff? And that's interesting, right? Because then you start when people engage with you, you start to show up more for them. If even if it's personal stuff. Is it when I notice that when I speak somewhere or share an accomplishment, everything is rising up. Our inquiries come up, all of these things. So, what are accomplishments I want to share with people, right? Like you start to notice these trends. And so, what's really nice about outsourcing that is like you have a team that's coming to you and they're saying, hey, for your podcast, the best episodes aren't actually with guests. Your best
Uh-huh.
episodes are your solo episodes where you talk about these things. One of my clients is a incredible CFO. Like she's amazing. And she is so anti talking about numbers. She does not want to talk about numbers on her podcast. She just wants to have this cute business podcast. And my team was like, do we tell her that the top 5 episodes are her accounting episodes? And I'm like, we must. I talked to her on the phone yesterday and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm really going to lean into this because people need this financial information. I didn't realize that's how they wanted to hear it. You hear and you see things differently.
Well, I think that's so valuable because
Mhm.
you're spending all this time creating social, developing your podcast, being in it. But if you don't know what's really working and then you waste a lot of time. You learn over time, but it might be
Yeah.
slower than if you had somebody who's actually watching it for you and saying, I
Yeah.
noticed, right?
And we often create, this is like a hot take that people don't like when I say this, but like we often create content for ourselves, not our ideal clients. And so we
Yeah.
get up there and we're like, people love this meme. They're going to love this meme. And like people don't love the meme. Like that's not what people want to see from you. So it's like really like, I have a few clients that target people above 60. Like that's their 60 or 70, their clinics or whatever. And that content is different than what we're doing for people who target teenagers, for people that
Totally.
target new moms, right? Like that's just different content. We just always need to remember that and and when you have someone who's kind of looking at it for you and they're kind of like, Coco, that's probably not what I'd spend my time doing. Because the other piece is you're recording all these podcast episodes, you're spending hours and hours doing it. Maybe you're even editing it yourself, and then no one's listening to it. That's not good use of your time.
No.
And so I
Uh,
think like really again, like it's always just like looking at like what's starting conversations with people to see what maximizes the most value.
I love it. So how can people get in touch with you? How can they work with you? I know you have I know you do sort of done for you services, but you also have a social business club. What's that?
So kind of like I mentioned earlier, I'm like the worst picture of myself. No one actually knows ever what I do. But yeah, we do social media and podcasting done for you services. We work with about 85 entrepreneurs to help them grow their businesses online. We launch podcasts. So even if you just have an idea, we can bring it to life. And then done for you social is like, where we kind of do all your social for you in collaboration, which is amazing. We have this other thing called the Social Business Club, which you can access at thesocialbusinessclub.ca. And it is a membership for women to learn how to do their own socials. So we teach you we've seen people go from like, I do not know how to post to they are now like Instagram mavens. Like I'm nervous they're going to start agencies. They're actually getting after it, which is awesome. You can use the code podcast and you can get your first month for $1 Canadian, which is 60 cents American. So I that's a steal, I would say. But yeah, use the code podcast at thesocialbusinessclub.ca and come over to LinkedIn and Instagram. I'd love to see you over there. Any friend of Coco's is a friend of mine, and I'd love to hear what resonated.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to totally check out this social business club. I have another question about the social business club.
Please, yeah.
So I have a marketing assistant.
Hmm.
She also joined.
Totally. Yeah, we actually have a few people like that. We have live calls, live coaching and stuff, which is where I think a lot of people glean a lot of value. There's also a full course that takes you from A to Z of Instagram. Every week we put trending sounds in there. So what's trending on Instagram, along with tips. We also have templates so people can use like templates for Canva.
Okay, so I know you're very focused on Insta on this
Yeah.
program. If would it still be of value to me to be on there, or somebody if I focus mostly on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so we're actually adding some LinkedIn modules in March. So those are already recorded, so they'll be out there. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, there is a lot of Instagram stuff in there, but we talk about all the platforms, especially on the coaching calls. We go through everything.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm so excited. I just drank from the fire hose from you, and I have so much to so excited to integrate. And I learned a lot from you. You really you brought
Oh,
so much wisdom to me personally. I've taken lots of notes and I'll be implementing as much as I can because you really are a expert and powerhouse with the area of social and podcasting. Your reputation is so solid and
oh, cool. Thank
you're
you.
beloved. You're beloved by your community. What you've created is extraordinary. So for everybody listening, be sure to check out Kristina. You can find her at the socialsnippet.ca, correct?
It's the socialsnippet.com.
Oh, calm. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so you should go there and make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn and connect with her on Instagram, and you'll be able to really learn so much from her, and you're gonna like her. She's
Oh.
pleasurable to be around. Please be sure to like and share and follow the Wisdom of Women show or on whatever your favorite listening or platform is. And to infuse more wisdom into your business, please be sure to take the Growth Readiness Quiz at aforceforgood.biz/quiz and uncover where your insight is needed most. The world is made better by women-led business. Let's go make the world a better place. Thank you.